Swish. Orca. Bubble, 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 bubble. Oh, bubble, bubble, bubble. Swish. A mermaid. Hi,
Hello.
I'm Rodrigo, and on today's podcast, we have some dude named Braf and some kid with obvious issues named Adan.
He also dated his cousin.
Okay, can we
On
start
today's
this
podcast, we're gonna be talking about ocean stuff again. It's gonna be hosted by Raf. Take it away. Don't be boring like always. Thank you.
now? Alright, I'll probably be boring. But we'll be talking about the laws that protect our oceans. The Act to Prevent Pollution from Ships, otherwise known as APPS. The
Is it like UPS except for ships?
MPPRCA, requires EPA and National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration to study the effects of improper disposal of plastics on the environment and methods to reduce or eliminate such adverse effects. Also requires EPA, NOAA, and the U.S. Coast Guard to evaluate the use of volunteer groups for monitoring floatable debris. Now, they implemented this act due to many different pollutions from ships that have been broken down or have sunk and left their trash behind, therefore affecting many animals in the ocean. Plastics have a major
Hey,
effect on the ocean. They are non.
Raf, real quick.
Yes.
I started thinking about something.
Yeah.
You ever just think that Shrek is a metaphor for like our like nature and stuff? And Shrek is really like the wildlife, and they're all like.
What are you doing in my swamp?
Because like we're in there like destroying their habitats, and like it's not cool, it's not cash money. So really Shrek isn't just Shrek. It's about nature and how we as humans destroy it and don't appreciate it enough.
That's
Thank
one
you. That's all I have to
interpretation of
say.
Shrek. I
Yeah.
like that interpretation. It's really good. And also, the we also have the Marine Debris Research, Prevention, and Reduction Act. The MDRPRA established programs within the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration and the U.S. Coast Guard. Identify, determine sources of, assess, and reduce and prevent marine debris. They also reactivate the Interagency Marine Debris Coordinating Committee chaired by NOAA. So basically, they're here to prevent the different trashes that are left by us in the ocean and prevent them from contaminating any other oceanic environments and trying to protect the animals that get affected by it. A bunch of plastics that go into the water, such as water bottles, and they have the soda rings, the other plastic trash. There's issues because also
You
the
know
sea
what?
turtles
Stop. I like how if there was any other podcast hosted by any other one of us, we would have stopped and acknowledged the fact that somebody walked into my room again. But Raph just keeps talking. He doesn't care. He just, he's like, you know what? I'm not enjoying this. I'm just want to get my grade in. You know,
No, I do enjoy it. It's just like I'm kind of tired, so I'm not
You know what, Raph?
enthusiastic.
I want to
about it
take a
right
fat
now.
nap too, but I'm gonna do.
Yeah, I want to
All
take a
right.
shower, dude.
So
I'm all
instead of
gross
interrupting
and
me
musty
every
and
2
sweaty,
minutes,
sweaty.
let me finish this project. Thank you very much. Now we can also talk about this.
Adan. Stop.
Sorry.
We also have the Shore Protection Act. The SPA is applicable to transportation, municipal, and commercial waste in coastal waters. They aim to minimize debris from being deposited into coastal waters from inadequate waste handling procedures by waste transporting vessels. EPA in consultation with the Coast Guard responsible for developing regulations under the SPA. Now, enough of these regulations. We'll talk about different issues that actually um, connect to the different sea animals.
All right.
We'll talk about the sea turtle issue,
Which is
where um, many different fishing equipment such as fishing nets and also different plastics such as soda can rings and stuff like that also get a bunch of sea turtles trapped in them, and they end up often dying from entrapment. And some of them actually end up growing with like part of the plastic, like having the shell morph around it, so they're kind of like skinny in the middle, and then the rest is like normal.
what?
But you can see like the ring of plastic around them, and it's what's causing the sea turtles to become endangered. The biggest threats include entanglement in fishing gear, poaching or illegal trade of eggs, meat, and shells, coastal development, plastic and other marine debris, global warming, of course, ocean pollution, and turtle shell trade.
Yeah, dude, global warming's wild. Like, today it was really hot, and I was like, damn, global warming.
It's more like climate change because the
Nah,
weather's constantly
warm, man.
changing, but it's also getting drastically cold in different areas of the world. It's not just global warming. Anywho, now the global status of these sea turtles. The world's 7 sea turtle species are classified as follows, according to the IUCN Red List of threatened species. Now, the IUCN Red List is a list that is not really set in stone because they're constantly changing to the point where it's always different animals and species being added to it, and it's a list of threatened and endangered species. Now, the species that are there are the leatherbacks. They are vulnerable at the moment. The greens are endangered. The loggerheads are vulnerable. The hawksbills are critically endangered. The brightleys are vulnerable. Camp brightleys are critically endangered. Flatbacks are, well, there's not enough information on them. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So to kind of break this down, critically endangered means that the species is considered to be facing an extremely high risk of extinction in the wild. Endangered is species is considered to be facing a very high risk of extinction in the wild. Vulnerable is species is considered to be facing high risk of extinction in the wild as well. Data deficient, which is species that cannot be evaluated because of insufficient data. There are different nonprofit organizations that protect sea turtles through conservation, travel, and volunteer tours, educational programs, and building baby turtles. So, if anybody wants to search those up, you can to help these wonderful sea turtles because they're really cute.
Would you like to put a
Did you ever watch
link in the
Moana?
description?
Moana?
Yeah.
Okay, I guess.
Like the first opening scene where she's helping out the sea turtle.
Really?
Cute. AF. Uwu.
Also, we can talk about the orca issues. We
Man,
must protect.
orcas are kind of an asshole.
They're actually
No,
really
those are
nice
dolphins. My
creatures.
bad. Those are dolphins.
I really do think you should share a link though.
Yeah.
A link?
Yes.
All right, we'll put it down in the description below this podcast if you guys want to check it
And
out.
don't forget to like and subscribe
Don't
and
forget
comment
to like,
down below.
subscribe, and comment down the description of orcas. Killer whales are opportunistic feeders, which means they will take a variety of different prey species. In the Pacific Northwest, 3 ecotypes have been observed. Residents specialize in fish, transients specialize in marine mammals, offshore specialize in sharks. The southern resident community of orcas, consisting of JK and L-pods, are almost exclusively fish eaters.
Hey,
Some
bruh.
study, yeah.
What is your favorite ocean movie?
Finding Nemo.
Oh, shoot.
How about you?
Rodrigo,
What? Oh,
what's your
my favorite
favorite?
movie for the ocean?
Yeah.
Yes.
It probably would be Finding Nemo as well.
Nah, mine is Shark Tale.
Oh, wow, really?
Oh,
Oh,
you're
Will
right. You're right.
Smith.
You're right.
Right?
Yeah,
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Y'all normies, in my opinion.
yeah,
Because y'all
totes.
could have gone with Moana,
Nah,
The Little
Mm,
Mermaid,
mm-mm.
nah,
Aquaman. Fine,
nah,
Mm-mm.
Aquaman's
bro.
trash.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah,
Aquaman's trash, bro.
Aquaman is
Some
hella trash.
some studies show that up to 85% of their diet is salmon, with Chinook salmon being far and away their favorite. During the last 50 years, hundreds of wild runs of salmon have become extinct due to habitat loss and overfishing of wild stocks. Many of the extinct salmon stocks are the winter runs of Chinook and Coho. Although the surviving stocks have probably been sufficient to sustain the residents' pods, many of the runs that have been lost were undoubtedly traditional resources favored by the resident orcas. This may be affecting the whale's nutrition in the winter and may require them to change the patterns of movement in order to search for food. Uh, this is kind of like breaking it down. Basically, global warming or climate change is
Could
affecting
you
the.
could you use those two terms interchangeably? Drastically,
Well,
are they
global warming is
drastically
more that
like different?
in temperature, while
No,
climate change is like different
sorry,
temperatures are
you
changing.
cut
It's
out.
getting lower,
Well,
Could
and
you
the other ones
repeat
are
that
no, the
again?
thing
rising.
is, though, global warming and climate change is basically the same thing, but they changed it because people deny it because of the fact that it's global warming, and they'll be like, well, I mean, it isn't hot over here. It's really cold. So they changed it to
Yeah.
climate change because of stuff like that.
Because they thought that global warming only caused warming.
Yeah,
Oh,
basically.
wow. Well, I
Yes.
think we should
Yes.
just
Yes.
educate
Yes.
people more often on that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Education is like one of the number one solutions to every problem. I've learned that in Viro many times when we talk about pollution and anything of that sort. One of the solutions that we talk about mostly is educating the public. So if you're listening, educate your friends and family about the urgent issues of the ocean, such as the orcas dying, the fishes are dying because of global warming, climate change. With global warming and climate change, as the ocean heats up, it can't absorb as much as oxygen as it used to when it's cooler. Therefore, the oxygen levels become lower and lower. And with our CO2 levels rising, the ocean also
That's
absorbs
what's so cool
over.
about the ocean.
Yeah, it
Like
absorbs
we none of us really
50%.
know, but like it does a lot
It
in terms of
does.
like our survival.
It
Like it like
absorbs.
lowers CO2, it lowers our like temperature in terms of the atmosphere. It reflects like UV waves and all that kind of stuff. It feeds
Yeah,
us, you know.
it absorbs 50% of the CO2 emissions we emit.
Ooh. Not to mention like we haven't even explored most of our oceans yet, which is like
They
wild.
say that we've explored only 5 to 10% of the ocean, and the rest is
Yeah.
unknown.
Like
And
we can go to space, but we can't explore our oceans. That's
that's
wild.
due to because we lack the technology that can withstand the water
Pressure.
pressure. That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
the deeper we go, the more pressure there is. If we were to give or drop some of our little robots in, they would just collapse and then fall into the
Depths of the
deep.
ocean.
Yeah, and they've tried, but they
The
haven't had
technology
any
isn't there.
success so far. Yeah, so there's like so many different possibilities of different animals that we don't even know about that are out there. And I really hope the megalodon is like still alive somehow. That would be pretty cool. Megalodon is like the biggest shark or ancient shark that is known to man. I think they have like a, a s- like a tooth from it, or they found a fossil
Like,
megalodon. Like,
do
let
you
me
know
search
like
it
when
up.
it was dated to?
No, I'm gonna check. Megalodon tooth are rare. Their 2 to 5 inch teeth are fairly common. Um, It won't say. I'm sorry. When did the megalodon go extinct? As far as we know, it went extinct 2.58 million years ago.
But is there like really still a possibility of there being one existing, but just not
I
known to be?
mean, possibly. We've only discovered like less than 10% of the ocean.
Yeah.
The rest of it is deep, but we don't know. 'Cause, yeah, they're big, but they can hide. Have you seen the movie Meg? The Meg?
No.
Well, they were hidden under some layer of I forgot what it was called. It was some current, and it kind of isolated them from the top surface of the ocean. And in there was like a community of megalodons, and when they opened uh a way into this little community, they were released and caused mass destruction.
Kind of like a Jurassic Park or something, right?
Yeah, basically Jurassic Park, but for
Ocean.
the ocean,
Yeah.
which I thought was pretty cool. Also, Jason Statham was in it, so
That's
I
cool too.
mean, who doesn't like him? He's
Who's
pretty
that?
good.
I don't. I love him.
Furious 7. He's
Oh
the
yeah, I
guy
never
that
watched
Avengers.
Furious.
Guess
Yeah.
show that movie instead of any of
Not
his
my
movies that
thing.
he's.
Oh yeah. I mean, oh, the Meg then is like probably one of my favorite ocean movies. Then completely forgot about that. We can also talk about the policy on sustainable marine fisheries. Marine fisheries are those that provide
Yeah.
us with fish or seafood, and they protect them as well.
I don't know what I think about that. Wait, are we talking about marine like farming fish, or are we talking about protecting?
Marine fisheries. Let's check it out. Marine. The National Marine Fisheries Service is responsible for the management, conservation, and protection of living marine resources within about 200 miles. Yeah, so it's basically taking care of them. My bad. So fish
Hold on, Ref.
resources, but many species are in decline
Can
because
you
of
repeat that,
habitat
Rafa?
loss.
Because you cut out.
Fish are a vital ecologic, economic, and food resource, but many species are in decline because of habitat loss, pollution, overfishing, and bycatch. Bycatch is when they have like big nets and they put them on the surface of the ocean or in the bottom of the ocean,
Hmm.
and they're trying to get a certain type of fish, but along the process, obviously, since it's a big net, unwanted fish are
Cut.
captured as well, and they tend to just throw them back in the water. But with that kind of like damage with like the net being dragged, they tend to die.
T.
So fishery management is hampered by incomplete knowledge of fish life cycles, complex ecosystem relationships, population size, natural population fluctuations, and the adverse effects of habitat loss and pollution. Current commercial and recreational fishery practices have
Yeah.
contributed to changes in biological
The other
composition
thing
of
with
marine
like that type of
ecosystems.
like method of fishing is like they don't only like pick up the fish that like we're gonna eat, you know? Like they
Yeah,
pick up like other stuff and they just kind of throw them away because like
yeah.
they'll most
Sometimes they
likely die
capture
in the process
sharks and
and
stuff
stuff.
like that. Yeah,
Yeah, it's messed up.
it is.
Like when we could easily just be like farming fish. I mean, there really is no other difference besides the fact that like they're probably not eating natural stuff, you know?
Yeah,
It's like
there's
if we're
just
gonna be like cruel with like chickens and stuff like that, why wouldn't they do it with like? It sounds bad, but like why wouldn't they do it with like fish? You know?
they do have aqua farms and
Yeah.
fish farms and aquaculture. That's that's actually the best source of fish because it keeps like a controlled population of fish that is just for our benefit, and we're not overfishing in the ocean, so that also helps, which is why if you go and look and buy fish, just look where it's your sources are from, and it's best if it's from like a fish farm. They're actually
Yeah.
healthier, I believe, too. Um, The Sierra Club therefore urges the state and federal agencies responsible for fishery management to adopt the precautionary principle to protect the biodiversity and integrity of the coastal and ocean ecosystems. The precautionary principle is to, yeah, like we don't know what the effects are if we do certain things, but in order to not find out when it's too late, we're gonna take precaution and take only a limited amount of resources to make sure that it'll be sustainable for the future. Another thing that the management wants is to move from managing fisheries on a species or a species complex basis to an ecosystem approach, which would include addressing the impacts of fishing on non-target species like sea turtles, marine mammals, and seabirds, changes in biodiversity of the marine food web as a consequence of harvesting fish, impacts of land-based pollution from all sources of habitat loss, degradation from physical human activities in estuarine, near shore and offshore areas, and population structure of target fish species and composition of fish communities to avoid fishing down the food chain from larger predator species to smaller species lower in the chain. Now, some land-based pollutions like pesticides and fertilizers and things like that run off from the rain, from the agricultural sites, like for crops, and then also livestock with the manure. And yeah, that's one way that waters get polluted, and then this known as biomagnification, where
Ooh, the trash
intake
island,
the what?
the trash islands.
No.
You haven't heard of that?
Oh,
Yeah,
oh
like
yeah,
the
yeah,
huge
yeah, yeah.
like literal islands of just trash and plastic that's like literally just floating around in our oceans.
Yeah, there's called the garbage patch. And it's like two gyres
Yeah.
in the ocean where they circle around, picking up trash and eventually making islands. Do you guys have any questions?
Did you ever
Questions.
drown?
No.
Oh,
Actually,
I
I
did.
have. I was trying to push someone into the jacuzzi, and I was like 7 years old. I was at my pool party at the apartment complex where I was living at. I tried to push someone in, but I slipped, and I ended up falling in the water, fully clothed. And yeah, that's one
You're over here
way.
trying to be a dick, and you're like, oh, I guess I'll die.
Yep, that's what happens. And they also suggest to invest in coordinated and expanded research on habitat, fishing, and natural fish mortality, climate change, threats posed by biotoxins, bacteria, and viruses, and development of less destructive fishing gear and techniques. So yeah, it has other definite like suggestions in order to keep and maintain these fisheries at a level that's good for the fish and us. And also at the SierraClub.org, you can fight back and protect America from Trump. You can donate now. It's at their website. So if you're into
Also,
that kind
link
of
in the
stuff,
description.
Also there's also a pressing issue, the Paris Climate Accord, which also has contributed to trying to slow down um, climate change. It was an agreement with the UN on climate on the Convention on Climate Change dealing with greenhouse gas emissions, mitigation, adaptation, and finance. It was signed in 2016. The agreement language was negotiated by representatives of 196 state parties at the 21st Conference of the Parties of the UNFCCC and the Bourg in Paris, France. Um, the goal was just to keep the increase in global average temperatures to well below 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, and to limit the increase to 1.5 um, degrees Celsius, since this would substantially reduce the risk and effects of climate change. And yeah, like 1.5 degrees Celsius seems like such a small change, but when you think about it in a global scale, 1.5 of an increase in temperature is actually something to be extremely worried about, since the glaciers and ice caps are melting and the sea levels are
Yeah.
rising. And people think, oh, like people like when we they get news like, oh, the sea level rose like a couple inches or a couple of feet. They're like, oh, it's just a couple inches, couple of feet. It's like not just that. You have to think about the ocean as a whole. Now, if it's just like 1 inch of water, you got to think about the whole ocean rising 1 inch. So that's not only that like little part of the
Yeah.
ocean that you
When you
see
look
at
at
the
like
beach.
Paris or
It's the
like
whole thing.
Paris or like not Paris, is it Venice?
Hmm.
Like the city, like literal like river city.
Oh, yeah.
They're like literally like the water went up a couple inches and people are already getting like basically like maybe like a couple like 30 years without even be able to live it because of the
Yeah.
sea
Like
levels rising.
that's what I hate when people like deny global warming. It's just a problem that's waiting to happen. Like at one t
Like even
like no,
then,
like at
if
one point, like it's gonna affect us so much so that we're gonna have to take care of it, and it's gonna be our
yeah,
generation's like problem to deal with, and not
Mass. Yeah.
when like it could have been helped or it maybe even
yeah,
prevented if we started now, or like
and, yeah,
yeah, and then like with the whole thing of like Trump removing us from like things that like committees or programs and stuff like that that help like worldwide just with emissions, he's like removing us because he thinks that it's not a problem even though it is.
yeah.
We're
Oh
just
yeah.
gonna have to
He
deal with
he.
it.
Yeah.
And
In
even
June
then, like even if
2017.
global warming doesn't exist, we still could benefit from all the advancement because like at some point fossil fuels are gonna run out. So why
Oh,
it
most
wouldn't hurt
definitely.
now to make those like advancements in renewable energy? It'd probably be cheaper in the long haul also
Yeah.
instead of like even then like the air is so like nasty in like places like Mexico or like in cities in general. You know, like the air is like basically unbreathable. You know, there's
Even
like lung
here
disease and
in
stuff you can get.
Corona.
Yeah,
We were just
or
driving
LA.
yesterday. I was driving home, and I just looked to the left, and you could just see all the pollution on top of the mountains. And it also has to do with the way Corona is. It's like one of the worst, like geographically, it's like really bad because the mountains, we're surrounded by mountains. So when the wind comes in, it just circulates the pollution in our area because there's no way for the wind to take it out because the mountains are like up high. So
Salute.
all the pollution just circles around the city, and it just keeps on increasing and increasing. And speaking of Donald Trump, he announced in 2017 during June that his intention was to withdraw his country or us from the agreement under the Paris Agreement. And even with this, I believe California is still signing to be on it themselves. We just learned about it like a week or two ago in Enviro. And I think that's pretty cool. Just like, not just like following what the country's doing or what he's doing, but we're going by ourselves and taking the lead on it.
Yeah.
Hopefully, encouraging other states to sign it and join it as well, so we can help with these issues.
Yeah,
Also, I think it was yesterday or the day before, Little Dicky released a song
Little
with
Dicky.
like many artists, multiple artists: Ariana Grande, Brendan Urie, Ed Sheeran, Shawn Mendes, uh, Charlie Puth, many other artists, and it was about the Earth, and he talks about different issues such as like what poachers are doing to different animals and what's going on in the ocean, pollution, and how we need to recycle. And I think it's actually pretty cool because he also gives like a little speech at the end that if we don't, he says that if we don't change our ways and how we are polluting the earth, or we need to find other ways of energy within 12 years, all the damage that we've done is irreversible, and we're definitely like most like likely doomed after that. So we have basically 12 years to undo everything that's been going on for the past what few decades.
Yeah.
in
Like
order
that's the thing that
to
sucks. Though. It's like
serve a
not.
future.
It's not necessarily our generation or the generation after ours. It's like people that have already been doing things and don't want to change the way they do things.
That are
Yeah,
motivated by money.
Yeah,
yeah,
It's
because
what
like
really
oil and
upsets
stuff
me.
like that's such a big business.
No,
Like
yeah, yeah,
even
yeah.
like with oil spills and all that kind of stuff, people continue doing that. Even like with wars and everything. So it's like it really is mostly just like money and stuff like that. At least that's what I think.
The thing
Along with like
is,
just
like,
miseducation.
yeah, like money can only take you so far. The moment we run out of resources, yeah, prices are gonna increase. But once everything's out, there's gonna be nothing left to buy or anything. We're gonna be left
Yeah.
with nothing to survive with, and really everything that these people that were motivated by money mean nothing at the end of the day. So really, it's up to our generation to hopefully reverse everything that's been going on the past few decades within 12 years to save it for our next generation, for our children, if we're even able to have children. And that's something that's scary to even say. It's unbelievable to say. Like, what I was thinking, like, for my future, if the world gets worse and, like, worse than what it already is, I don't even think I would want my children in this world,
yeah,
you know? It's not
Yeah.
something I would want them to grow up in. It's not something I would want to be in. So why would I bring someone else in to this world to suffer even more than I did, you know?
Mhm.
And I
definitely.
think that will conclude our podcast.
Okay. So yeah, we're gonna conclude this podcast then. Thanks for listening. Hopefully you learned something about the ocean.
This
So
is the Little
we are including the
Dicky song.
link at the bottom of our podcast, so make sure to go. You can donate help sea turtles and stuff like that. Um, this is a song by Little Dicky. You know, he out here being Little Dicky.
We'll
And
put
I'm
the
gonna go
link
take a
in the
nap.
description as well.
Yeah. This was not our most entertaining podcast, but we hope you guys learned.
Probably our
That's
most
it.
educational. Catch y'all
And
later.
yeah, this is to be continued.